literally, it scared me. It scared me. Like it became, Ryan Job made God real to me. And yeah, I mean, it was just one of the, I mean, I'll never forget that. And then, you know, what happened to Ryan afterwards was, you know, was really hard. That's why I wrote the book. You know, you know, I'm grateful that happened. I'm grateful. Like, not many people get that confirmation, right? Maybe you do, but you just don't see it. I saw it. Like, I know there's no way. Like, he knows who I am. And, you know, and he's probably been stalking me for my whole life, right?
Right.
But so that was, you know, that was the most profound event of my entire life, was that experience on that hill with Ryan Job.
Wow. It's just so amazing. I mean, it blows me away still to think about how someone that's blind is able to climb Mount Rainier and to do all this other stuff. It is amazing. Even now,
you know, for me, it's totally humbling. I mean, you know, look, I've climbed Mount Rainier a few times, you know, with other wounded veterans, and it's been a real privilege and an honor for me to do that. And, you know, I remember my last time up on Rainier, on the high reaches of Rainier, it was a very narrow path, and, you know, I decided I would close my eyes just for fun to see how it felt, and, well, it really wasn't that much fun, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, I could only do it for a few seconds before I had to open them, because it is so unnerving. It's off camber, it's slippery, it's windy, it's not, so I have a newfound respect. I, you know, found a new level of respect for Ryan Job after that experience. And then oftentimes I'll just try to do things with my eyes closed, just to see what it's like. You know, I know my home pretty well, but to navigate it, you know, with your eyes closed is not as easy as one would think. So, and then the patience that it takes and the time that it takes, the extra time to get ready and to do things, you know, I really appreciate that. I mean, I was so humbled to know somebody like that, and to see how much he overcame to become what I think the hero that he was. At least to me, he was a hero, you know, and I never took it for granted. Our relationship, I was really honored to know a guy like Ryan Job, and really blessed to have an encounter with somebody like that who is patient and graceful and dignified in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? That the way he overcame things.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I'm gonna move on to another topic now. I understand that you are working on or planning another book at this point. You had some news about that. Can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah, my next book is, the working title is Man O' War, and it's really an incredible story. So I had met a former Navy SEAL named Richard Peters, who was literally, I think, either one of the first, if not the first, Navy SEAL selected to work with SEAL Team 6. He was actually worked at SEAL Team 6 for, I think, 14 years, which almost his entire career. He had, you know, been in every conflict since Vietnam, and really just an amazing guy. I mean, a great Christian brother. And we started talking about his experience, his Christian faith, and the spiritual war as it relates to the conflicts around the globe. And that's really the premise of the book is sort of his faith as it relates to worldwide conflicts that he had participated or, you know, been involved in. And after he left the Navy, he started working as a contractor in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. And his last assignment was in 2011 in Libya, in which is a very strong Christian. And so he was there. He had founded a company that did security and construction. And in the Middle East and various parts around the globe, security and construction firms are not uncommon to be connected together. I mean, they work in tandem. So he had arrived in 2011, early 2011, in Tripoli to work on, to bid on a contract for the modernization of the Tripoli airport. At the time, the Arab Spring was percolating around the Middle East, and specifically in the west in Tunisia, where it began, and then sort of moved to the east, to Egypt, which, if you know the geography of it, Libya is sort of between Tunisia on the eastern side, and then Egypt on the western side. So it had not yet percolated in Libya, but that would soon change, of course, and we've all sort of seen imagery of then dictator Muammar Gaddafi being, suddenly captured and executed by rebel forces. Rich was in prison in Libya during that period. He was arrested while trying to leave the country, thrown in jail as an American spy, was scheduled to be hung a week before he actually broke out of a Libyan prison. He spent, I think, almost a year, I think it was, maybe about a year, I think. But while in prison, Rich never once strayed from his faith. In fact, it became stronger, and he was walking, in stride with his Savior in faith. And one of the most amazing things I think happened to him is that, he's there. They were starving him. He was not charged with a crime. His family didn't know what happened to him for the better part of 6 months. They had no information on. One day he just disappeared. There's now a civil war brewing, and nobody knows where Rich Peters is. The SEAL team community is searching for him. Nobody knows what's going on or where he is. Cell phone is not working. No one knows. One day in his jail cell, there are two outlets on either side of the wall. They're 220 outlets, and he hears a voice, in one of the outlets. Hello, I'm an American, and are you in there? And Rich calls back, and he said, yeah, this is Rich Peters. I'm an American. I've been in here for 6 months. Who's this? And the voice shouts back, my name is James Foley. I'm a reporter for the Global Post. I'm an American. You may remember the name James Foley.
Yeah.
He was the reporter that was a year later captured in Syria and then taken prisoner and eventually beheaded. Well, Rich and Jim Foley became friends. Rich shared his faith with Jim, and Jim gave his life to Christ. Right there in that prison because of Rich. When Rich broke out of prison, Rich's family found out that Rich was in prison from Jim Foley. Rich was still in. Jim was released. Jim memorized Rich's wife's telephone number. As soon as he got out, he called her and said, I know your husband. I know where he is. I was in prison with him. He's here. That's how the American government found out where Rich Peters was. One of the most amazing parts of the book, and I don't want to spoil all of it, is that, Rich, he doesn't know what's happening, right? One day the prison is empty. And, it's 140 degrees, and, the prison's empty, and there's no one around. Rich is calling, and there's no one around. And so he just starts to pray. He's walking with Christ, and he's just praying. God, please tell me what to do. And so Rich says to me, a voice just came in my head. And the voice said, Rich, kick down that door. So Rich Peters says, by your command. And he starts kicking the door and just says, by your command, oh God, by your command. Just keeps kicking and kicking the door. This is a metal door embedded in concrete, and just keeps kicking. By your command, God, by your command. And the door blows out of the concrete.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't think this was true, right? Because I'm like, wait a minute, you got to be kidding me. So I Google Jim Foley, Rich Peters.
Yeah.
And it comes up. Jim Foley writes about Richard Peters in Global Post. You can do it today and find it. And Jim Foley says he went back to Libya. He met up with Rich after Rich broke out. They went back to the prison, and Jim Foley asked Rich how he got out, and Rich said, I kicked down the door. Jim Foley writes, if I didn't see it myself, I wouldn't believe it. The door was sitting, basically out of the prison cell, kicked out, laying on its side, and that's how Rich got out of prison. So the story is about Richard Peters' life and his faith as a Christian brother, as a Navy SEAL, and what his faith meant to him and the people that he served with, and what it means to him now. And that's the story that Rich wants people to know, that his story of faith and how it saved probably him 1,000 times. And in a place like Libya, when literally we know that the State Department had confirmed that Rich was to be hung as a traitor or a spy or whatever it was by the Gaddafi government just a week before or a week after he had broken out. But yeah, that's the next book. Will be published by Barker Books. Hopefully it's a 2017 book. Rich eventually made it out of Libya through Benghazi about a week or two before Ambassador Stevens, Glenn Foley, and Ty Woods and the others were murdered.
Wow. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, it is a great story. I'm really honored to be able to work with Rich to tell his story and to share it with the world. I think it's an amazing one that, this is a guy who counts Christ as his, he's the toughest guy you ever meet.
Yeah.
And literally, and Rich says he's nothing without the love of the Lord Jesus Christ. And he's been a strong Christian for years, since his his first days in the SEAL team. So, but a really great guy and just an amazing story. He's an amazing story. I can't wait to sort of get the book out there and have people read it. I think it'll literally, if Rich Peters says he's nothing without Christ, then I'm sure that other people will have to agree with him. But anyway, I'm really excited and honored to be able to write with Rich and tell that story.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Wow. Robert, that's all that I have at this point. Do you have any other projects or any other things?
Well, yeah, I think if people are interested in reading about Ryan Job and the story of Warrior's Faith, it was just in January of 2016 was awarded the Illumination Award, Silver Medal for Best Memoir. So I'm really honored to be able to share that story and tell that story, and really, grateful that someone recognized the story as worthy of that award. It means a lot to me that I'm really grateful for the Independent Publishers Committee to honor Ryan Job with that award. It really means a lot to me personally. The book is available on Amazon. It was a #1. It came out in March of 2015. It became a #1 Amazon bestseller, and it's still doing great on Amazon and other places. But the title is A Warrior's Faith. If you want to learn more about it, there's awarriorsfaith.com, and it is available on Amazon. But I think, if people want sort of an interesting story about really just an amazing guy who Chris Kyle calls a hero, who many others have written about in their books, including Extreme Ownership, American Sniper, and many other books. Ryan Job he's chronicled in all those books, and just a really great guy. So if you're interested in a great read, and to share with you the sort of one thing really quickly is that I wanted to use a physical book, and as a writer, Jason, you probably sort of think about these things as well. Is that the original manuscript was about 80,000 words, and I submitted it for publication, and on a Friday, I sort of asked if I could have it back to do some final edits, and they said yes, and so I did. I made some final edits, and the edits were that I cut the book literally in half. I mean, I went from 80,000 words to just over 40,000 words, which is about 200 pages. I mean, I wanted people to be able to sit down and read it in one setting. I didn't want you to leave. I wanted you to stay there with me with Ryan. I wanted you to read it all